We're back at that moment when Spider-Man and Gwen saw Flash taken away by some men in a car. And when Spider-Man follows, that car is then attacked by another party who are speaking Vietnamese and releasing gas grenades to hide an abduction attempt. Since Spider-Man doesn't know who the good guys are and who the bad guys are, he focuses on just keeping Flash away from both. This is made more difficult when he's knocked down by a 7-foot-tall man in a chauffeur uniform, but he's able to knock that hulking figure off balance and web up the would-be abductors before swinging away with Flash Thompson in his arms. We're reading every Spider-Man ever, and this is The Amazing Spider-Man issue 108, Vengeance from Vietnam. On a nearby rooftop, he demands answers from Flash. Why are people trying to kidnap him? So Flash explains that many months ago in Vietnam he had been wounded and separated from his platoon and had found a hidden temple that wasn't on any map. The people there, including a high priest and his daughter, a girl around Flash's age, nursed him back to health and showed him great kindness despite him being a stranger and a potential enemy. But when he was well enough to head back to his camp, never to forget the kindness that he was shown, he learned that his base had been ordered to attack Sector B, which is where the temple was. Since it wasn't on any maps, his higher-ups didn't believe him, thought him delirious when he tried to stop the bombing, and so he raced back to the temple instead to warn the people that showed him kindness. However, they refused to leave, and the bombs dropped, and Flash fell unconscious, only to awaken back at his camp. But word got out in Vietnam that Flash had visited the temple, and angry, bitter people blamed him, thought that he had scouted the temple out for destruction, and they'd followed him back to America. And they were the people that Spider-Man had fought, and the first group were just trying to protect Flash. But Flash thinks that there might be more to all this, something that he doesn't know, and Spider-Man leaves him to ponder this question as he delivers Flash via web back to the people who are charged with protecting him. Later, at home, after Peter Parker is able to quickly lie to his Aunt May about the sticky substance that she finds leaking out of his room, Gwen Stacy arrives, worried about Flash's kidnapping. Despite jealousy rearing its head, Peter agrees to go find out more. They go to the Federal Building where Flash is being held, but they're denied entry. However, Peter's spider sense goes off, and he notices the very noticeable 7-foot chauffeur from earlier, clearly attempting to grab Flash again. And so he makes excuses to Gwen, climbs out a window, and slips a spider tracer into the chauffeur's pocket. Suddenly there's an explosion at the other end of the corridor and the lights go out. The men are going for Flash now, so Peter smashes through the glass to fight them, hoping that the darkness will hide his identity and sticking to the walls to protect his feet from the broken glass. But as much as he attempts to stay out of the chauffeur's grasp, the big strong man is also surprisingly fast, and he's able to grab Peter's leg and throw him into a door. And since they now have Flash, the chauffeur marches away and drives off with Peter's friend as our hero lies dazed. Peter's brought out of his daze by the sound of Gwen shouting his name. He emerges from the smoke, pretending to have been caught in the explosion before making an excuse again. He has to chase after Flash, has to rescue Flash. But Gwen won't have it. Every time there's danger, she says, he's always leaving and running off, and others are starting to call him a coward. If Peter loves her, he should stay with her. And so Peter is left with the dilemma. He's the only one who can find Flash, but if he does, he might lose the woman that he loves. His only other choice is to tell Gwen that he's Spider-Man. Thanks for watching, and thanks to my patrons listed here for supporting the channel. Next week, Spider-Man joins the Frightful Four, but until that issue, here's a fun fact about this one. Future Spider-Man writer David Michelinie is in the letters pages here, complaining about a recent price increase.